The year is 2000, the dawn of a new millennium, and in the previous season of NFL action saw a ton of miracles happen. The Indianapolis Colts, under the guide of a young Peyton Manning, went from worst to first in the AFC East. The Jaguars, a surprising contender in the NFC in their early years, took the number one seed in the AFC. In the NFC, the number one seed went to the Rams, who turned to a former grocery bagger at quarterback after Trent Green went down with injury. MVP Kurt Warner led one of the most deadly offenses in history, the greatest show on turf, with Offensive Player of the Year Marshall Faulk, along with stud wide receivers Torrey Holt and Isaac Bruce. And the craziness just continued in the playoffs, with the Titans putting an end to the Bills' dynasty of the 90s with the Music City Miracle, the Jaguars ending the legendary career of Dan Marino in the stomping of the Dolphins in a wild divisional round, and the Rams outgunning the Vikings in the divisional round. In the end, the Titans and the Rams met up in the first Super Bowl to take place in the 2000s, with the Rams emerging victorious on a defensive stop, holding the Titans 1 yard short from tying the game. But now that is in the past, and the 31 teams in the league are now looking forward to the 2000 NFL Draft. A draft that had a ton of great prospects that helped out a majority of these teams for years, as well as hiding a demon that would terrorize the NFL for over 2 decades. So let's take a deep dive into the first round of the 2000 NFL Draft and analyze each of the careers for these 31 young men that made it to the NFL and accomplished their dreams. Before we get into the draft itself, we have to decide how we are going to grade these players. We are taking into account these guys' whole career in regards to the grades, regardless of if they stayed with the team that drafted them or not. So let's break down the tiers and what each of them represent. Up first, we have the M tier, named after Peyton Manning, the number one overall pick in the 1998 NFL Draft, which is also the first draft of the series. This stands for a once-in-a-generation type of player, discussed as some of the greatest of all time at their position, the golden goose that every team wishes they had on their team, and an NFL legend. Next up, we have A tier. Players in this tier are often regarded as some of the best of their generation. These guys are Hall of Famers, or should be Hall of Famers by now. Legends of their franchise. Up next is the B tier. These are players who are able to make multiple Pro Bowls and are on the border of being a potential Hall of Fame player, or would have been a Hall of Famer if injuries did not derail their entire career, but are just behind the top of players who belong in A tier. Up next is C tier. This is your solid starter. These guys don't really wow you, but they were solid, dependable players for their teams, or maybe made a Pro Bowl when they had a really, really good year. Next is D tier. Players that did not live up to their draft status, but were still able to last a while in the league as a backup. Next is F tier. This is your typical draft bust, whether it's due to injury, poor performance, or the unfortunate luck of being on a really bad team. These guys just sadly could not make it in the league. And finally, we have the L tier, named after Ryan Leaf, the second overall pick in the 98 NFL Draft. This is a bust of monumental proportions. These players had several factors impact their careers to a negative degree, but what separates these players from your typical draft bust in the F tier is the self-sabotage aspect of their failures. These are players that ruin the future of an organization. First pick of the 2000 NFL Draft, the Cleveland Browns select Courtney Brown, defensive end, Penn State. First season of the new Browns did not go that well, as they ended up with the number one overall pick again after a pretty dismal 2-14 season. They looked to continue adding to their team, taking a player they thought would be the face of their defense, much like what they thought they were getting when they took Tim Couch as their franchise quarterback back in the 1999 draft. And they chose to take what was thought to be the best pass rusher in this draft, the physical freak Courtney Brown. Brown was a record-setting All-American at Penn State, where after he left, he held the record for sacks and tackles for loss. Brown stood at an incredible 6'4", 270 pounds, while running a 4.52 40-yard dash. This pick started out pretty well as Brown got off to a good rookie year, recording 69 tackles, 16 tackles for loss, 4.5 sacks, and finishing 4th in Defensive Rookie of the Year voting. But after this rookie season, things fell apart quickly for both Brown and the Browns as a whole, as he suffered a season-ending injury after 5 games into his second season, where he was actually having a really good start, having 4.5 sacks in those 5 games. He missed 5 games in 2002, 2 games in 2003, where he had his best season, having 6 sacks to finish 11th in Comeback Player of the Year award voting, and 14 games in 2004 with injuries. He then spent the 2005 season with the Denver Broncos, helping them reach the AFC Championship game that season. Brown was not signed with the team after that season and retired shortly after. Overall for his career, Brown appeared in 61 games, 60 of them starts, having 196 total tackles, 156 solo, 36 tackles for loss, 23 pass deflections, 6 forced fumbles, 8 fumble recoveries, and 1 defensive touchdown. For his career, I'm going to have to put Brown into the F tier, as injuries really ruined what his career could have been, especially in his second season, as he really got off to a fantastic start before his first major injury occurred. He never really was the same after that, and his pick really encapsulates the past 25 years of Cleveland Browns football, taking a player that had the potential to be a franchise-altering talent, but instead, either due to injury or just organizational incompetence, it blows up in their face. He could have done very well in this league, but bad injury luck made him into one of the more infamous draft busts of all time. With the second pick of the 2000 NFL Draft, the Washington Redskins select LeVar Arrington, linebacker, Penn State. Trade that the Redskins made during the previous draft with the Saints worked out pretty darn well, as the first round pick that Washington got for the 2000 draft, because of the absolute incompetence of the New Orleans Saints, turned out to be the second overall pick. And with that incredible luck, Washington used that pick to boost their defense even further, as after taking Champ Bailey in the 1999 draft, they decided to take the 2-time All-American linebacker out of Penn State, LeVar Arrington. Arrington quickly proved Washington right, becoming one of the best young linebackers in the league, making 3 straight Pro Bowls from 2001 to 2003, while being named a second-team All-Pro member twice. His best season came in 2002, where in 16 games he recorded 95 tackles, 70 of them solo, 12 tackles for loss, 11 sacks, 8 pass deflections, 3 fumble recoveries, and 1 defensive touchdown. Washington then signed him to an 8-year, $68 million extension, but his next 2 seasons were riddled with injuries that caused him to play in just 17 games across those 2 seasons. Conflicts with the coaching staff led to Washington buying out his contract, and Arrington then became a free agent. The New York Giants signed him to a 7-year, $49 million contract, but his career then took a sharp turn. After just 6 games with the team, Arrington tore his Achilles tendon, which back then was a devastating and potentially career-ending injury, and the Giants released him the following offseason. But as he was fielding offers in free agency, Arrington suffered a brutal motorcycle accident that left him with a broken arm, broken vertebrae, and a massive cut on his leg, and he retired shortly after the accident. Overall, Arrington played in 7 NFL seasons, 6 with the Redskins and 1 with the Giants, appearing in 85 games, starting in 72 of them, recording 417 tackles, 338 solo, 44 tackles for loss, 23.5 sacks, 3 interceptions, 38 pass deflections, 6 forced fumbles, 7 fumble recoveries, and 2 defensive touchdowns. For his career, I'm going to put Arrington into the B tier, as early on in his career, he lived up to his potential as a defensive force with his 3 straight Pro Bowls, but injuries prevented him from having a longer career, which could have been at the level of a potential Hall of Fame case, with the level of productions that he had during his first 4 years of his career. With the third pick of the 2000 NFL Draft, the Washington Redskins select Chris Samuels, tackle, Alabama. Jumping back up into the top 5 with the trade with the San Francisco 49ers, the Redskins traded away 2 first-round picks, a 4th-round pick, and a 5th round pick to get up to the 3rd overall selection. And with their second of back-to-back picks, Washington decided to shore up their offensive line by taking the best tackle on the board, the unanimous All-American Chris Samuels out of Alabama. That pick was well justified, as Samuels quickly turned into one of the best and most consistent left tackles in all of football, making 6 Pro Bowls in his 10 seasons. After the 2005 season, Samuels was signed to a 7-year, $47 million extension and continued to play at a high level for the next few years until 2008, where he ended up being put on IR due to a triceps tear. He came back in 2009, but played only 5 games in that season as he suffered a severe helmet-to-helmet hit that left him temporarily paralyzed in his upper body. That injury was related to his spinal stenosis, and the risk of re-injury and paralysis was too great for him to continue playing, and he retired in early 2010. Overall, for his career, Samuels appeared in 141 games, starting in 141 of them, only missing a total of 19 starts in his 10-year career with Washington, making those 6 Pro Bowls. For his career, I'm going to put Samuels into the A tier, as he was one of the best left tackles in all of football, making 6 Pro Bowls in 10 years before injuries cut his career short. He could have been a candidate for the Hall of Fame if that career-ending injury hadn't happened and prevented him from accumulating more starts and accolades. But he is recognized in the Commander's Ring of Honor, and I do believe if he was never injured like that, he would be in the Hall of Fame. With the 4th pick of the 2000 NFL Draft, the Cincinnati Bengals select Peter Warrick, wide receiver, Florida State. Looking to add a dynamic weapon for their young quarterback Achilles Smith, the Bengals decided to take the 2-time All-American Peter Warrick to give their offense a jolt, as well as to be a dynamic member of their special teams. But this pick came as a surprise to many teams within the draft, as it incited a shoplifting in college and a poor 40-yard dash time at the combine had him slide down many teams' draft boards to the end of the first rounds. The Bengals went against the grain on this pick and ended up looking foolish, as Warrick did not pan out in the NFL at all. With the Bengals, he never had more than 1,000 yards receiving or a double-digit touchdown season, which is something that you expect out of a wide receiver taken within the top 5 pick of a draft. He then missed the majority of 2004 due to injury, and lost his spot as the team's number 2 receiver to TJ Houshmandzadeh, and was not re-signed the following season. Warrick then spent the 2005 season buried on Seattle's wide receiver Jeff Chart and as their punt returner. He was then cut after the 2006 preseason and bounced around the Arena Football League, Canadian Football League, and various other football leagues in the following years. Overall for his career, Warrick spent a total of 6 seasons in the NFL, 5 with the Bengals and 1 with the Seahawks, appearing in 79 games, starting in 60 of them, recording 275 receptions on 506 targets for 2,991 yards, 18 receiving touchdowns, and also added 2 receiving touchdowns and 2 punt return touchdowns in his career as well. For his career, I'm going to put Warrick into the F tier, as he could just never reach the expectations placed upon him for being a top 5 pick. Just very underwhelming production out of him, and injuries ruined any momentum that he could have had in his career. One of the worst wide receiver selections of the last 25 years. The 5th pick of the 2000 NFL Draft, the Baltimore Ravens select Jamal Lewis, running back, Tennessee. Looking to add a spark plug onto their offense to complement the very stout and soon-to-be legendary defense, the Ravens decided to take what many considered to be the best running back in the draft, Jamal Lewis. Lewis came in from Tennessee with some concerns, particularly with an injury, as he missed all of his sophomore season with a torn LCL and came back his junior season with a solid campaign. Coming into his rookie season, Lewis was a boost to the offense, rushing for over 1,300 yards and 6 touchdowns, supplanting the excellent Priest Holmes as the team's lead back. He finished second in Offensive Rookie of the Year voting and was a key player in the Ravens' Super Bowl run, having a total of 4 rushing touchdowns on their way to winning Super Bowl 35. But his sophomore season was a disaster, as he tore his ACL during training camp and missed the whole season. His 2002 season was another solid one, having another season over 1,300 yards and 6 touchdowns. But his 2003 season was one for the ages, as he became the 5th player ever to rush for over 2,000 yards in a season, joining O.J. Simpson, Eric Dickerson, Barry Sanders, and Terrell Davis in that exclusive club, later to be joined by Chris Johnson, Adrian Peterson, Derrick Henry, and Saquon Barkley. He also had 14 rushing touchdowns, made the Pro Bowl, was a first-team All-Pro, was the Offensive Player of the Year award winner, and finished top 5 in MVP voting. The next 3 seasons didn't reach the heights of 2003, but he was still a very solid running back, averaging 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns those 3 seasons. He was a free agent following the 2006 season and signed with the Cleveland Browns, where he would spend the next 3 seasons. His best of those 3 came in 2007, when he rushed over 1,300 yards and had 9 touchdowns for, honestly, a really solid Browns team. 2008 was an average year for him, and 2009 ended up being his last season in the NFL, as he ended up being on injured reserve. Overall for his career, Lewis played in 9 seasons, 6 for the Ravens and 3 for the Browns, appearing in 131 total games, starting in 126 of them, having 2,542 rushing attempts, 10,607 rushing yards, 58 rushing touchdowns, 298 receptions, 1,879 receiving yards, and 4 receiving touchdowns. He was named to 1 Pro Bowl, 1 first-team All-Pro, and won 1 Offensive Player of the Year award. For his career, I'm going to put Lewis into the B tier, as he was a very good running back for almost a full decade, with having one of the best running back seasons of all time in 2003. But a couple of seasons of injuries and below average play in the latter half of his career prevented him from accumulating enough stats to really be considered for the Hall of Fame. But still was a very successful career and a pick that the Ravens loved that they had made. The 6th pick of the 2000 NFL Draft, the Philadelphia Eagles select Corey Simon, defensive tackle, Florida State. The Eagles, looking to add more to their defensive front that already had Jermaine Kearse, decided to select a massive 300-pound All-American defensive tackle out of Florida State. And early on, it looked like the Eagles knocked this pick out of the park, as Simon posted a 9.5 sack season as a rookie and finished 3rd in Defensive Rookie of the Year voting. He continued to be a dominant force on the Eagles' defensive line for the next 4 seasons, making a Pro Bowl in 2003 following a 7.5 sack season and 2 forced fumbles. Simon was a key member of those really good Eagles teams in the early 2000s, where they made 4 straight NFC Championship games, including reaching 1 Super Bowl where they lost to the Patriots. After the Eagles and Simon could not reach an agreement on a contract extension, Simon signed with the Colts, where he played the 2005 season. He missed the entire 2006 season with the injury and missed the Colts Super Bowl run, although he did receive a ring for the team winning that game. Simon then signed with the Titans for the 2007 season, where he only played in 4 games with them before retiring due to polyarthritis. Overall for his career, Simon played in 7 seasons, 5 with the Eagles, 2 with the Colts, though 1 was injured, and 1 with the Titans, appearing in 95 games, starting in 91 of them, recording 251 total tackles, 194 solo, 50 tackles for loss, 32 sacks, 9 forced fumbles, 3 fumble recoveries, and 14 pass deflections, and was named to 1 Pro Bowl in his career in 2003. And for his career, I'm putting Simon into the C tier, as he got off to a really solid start to his career, making a massive impact on a constant contender with the Eagles. But once he went to Indianapolis, everything went wrong with him with injuries that forced him into an early retirement. Still, was a pretty solid pick that contributed to a couple of successful organizations in his career. With the 7th pick of the 2000 NFL Draft, the Arizona Cardinals select Thomas Jones, running back, Virginia. Looking to continue building up their offense, the Cardinals decided to select the consensus All-American back out of Virginia, Thomas Jones. Coming off an impressive last season with the Cavaliers, where he had over 2,000 all-purpose yards, he was immediately put into a 2-back system with fellow running back Michael Pittman. That and injuries held back Jones' potential with the Cardinals, where he had a total of over 1,000 yards and 9 touchdowns in 3 seasons before being traded to the Buccaneers in 2003. He spent 1 average season in Tampa before signing with the Bears in 2004 to be their featured back. And he would maintain that spot with the Bears for the next several seasons, having his first 1,000-yard campaign in 2005 and held off young running back Cedric Benson to have another 1,000-yard season in 2006. Jones was traded again to the Jets before the 2007 season and was signed to a 4-year, $25 million deal. He had his best season with the Jets, having 3 straight seasons over 1,100 yards rushing, and had back-to-back double-digit touchdown seasons in 2008 and 2009, and made his only Pro Bowl in 2008, where he had 1,312 rushing yards and 13 rushing touchdowns. Jones was released from the Jets following the 2009 season and spent his last 2 seasons with the Chiefs before retiring after 2011. Overall for his career, Jones played in 12 seasons, 3 with the Cardinals, 1 with the Buccaneers, 3 with the Bears, 3 with the Jets, and 2 with the Chiefs, which is really impressive for a running back. He appeared in 180 games, starting in 125 of them, having 2,678 rushing attempts, 10,591 rushing yards, 68 rushing touchdowns, 308 receptions, 2,023 receiving yards, and 3 receiving touchdowns. He was named to the Pro Bowl once, and is a member of the 10,000-yard rushing club, where he is currently ranked 27th all-time in career rushing yards. For his career, I'm going to put Jones into the B tier, as he has very similar career stats to fellow 2000 classmate Jamal Lewis. The difference between them is that Lewis had an absolutely dominant peak, where Jones had a lot more consistency and had a longer-lasting career with his good injury luck. Still, Jones had a fantastic career in the NFL, being a top 10 running back for a good portion of his 12-year career. With the 8th pick of the 2000 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Plaxico Burress, wide receiver, Michigan State. To a wide receiver room that already has some good talent such as Hines Ward in it, the Steelers selected all Big Ten receiver Plaxico Burress to be a major piece of their offense moving forward. And early in his career, Burress paid that off as he and Ward were one of the best wide receiver duos in the NFL during Plaxico's 5-year stint in Pittsburgh. They became the first duo in franchise history to have 1,000-yard seasons in the same year in 2001, and repeated it again in 2002. After the 2004 season, Burress signed a 6-year, $25 million contract with the New York Giants, getting himself a chance to be that number one guy for a franchise. And he did prove to be capable of that, as in the first 3 years of the deal, Burress had 2 1,000-yard seasons and 2 double-digit touchdown seasons. He was also very clutch during the Giants' 2007 Super Bowl run, being the difference maker in the NFC Championship game against the Packers, and catching the game-winning touchdown to upset the undefeated New England Patriots in Super Bowl 42. But in 2008 is where everything started to fall apart for Burress, as unhappiness with his contract impacted his ability and effort on the team, which led to him being suspended for 1 game. Then, in November of 2008, the accidental shooting incident happened at a nightclub in New York. He missed the rest of the season due to the injuries of that incident, and spent the next 2 years in prison due to the results of the investigation of the shooting, finding him guilty of 2 counts of criminal possession of a weapon and reckless endangerment. After being released from prison in June of 2011, Burress signed a 1-year deal with the Jets, and in November of 2012, he returned to Pittsburgh on a 1-year contract, but ended up tearing his rotator cuff in August of 2013, which ended his career. Overall for his career, Burress appeared in 11 seasons, 6 of them with Steelers, 4 with the Giants, and 1 with the Jets, appearing in 148 games, starting in 138 of them, having 553 receptions, 8,499 receiving yards, 64 touchdowns, and a yard per reception of 15.4. For his career, I'm putting Burress into the C tier, as he was a pretty solid starter for the majority of his career, and he did have one of the most clutch plays in NFL history to prevent the Patriots from becoming the first team to go 17-0. But the whole incident with the nightclub that cost him 2.5 years of playing time prevented him from accumulating enough stats for me to put him into the B tier, as well as him not being named to any Pro Bowls in his career. Still, a really solid NFL career, but just not enough to be considered anything higher than C. The 9th pick of the 2000 NFL Draft, the Chicago Bears select Brian Urlacher, linebacker, New Mexico. Looking to add an anchor to their pretty atrocious defense, they finished ranked 29th in 1999. The Bears selected the All-American linebacker out of New Mexico, Brian Urlacher, and he provided an immediate boost to their defense, putting together a fantastic rookie year where he was named to his first career Pro Bowl and was named the Defensive Rookie of the Year. He then went to 3 Pro Bowls in a row in the next 3 seasons, but his 2004 campaign was cut short as he only appeared in 9 games due to injuries. But 2005, he came back strong from that injury, having one of the best seasons of his career, and was named Defensive Player of the Year while having 122 total tackles, 17 tackles for loss, 6 sacks, 1 forced fumble, and 5 passes deflected. This season marked the first of back-to-back years of dominance by Urlacher, as in 2006 he was named to his second straight first-team All-Pro and finished 4th in Defensive Player of the Year voting while leading a dominant Bears defense all the way to the Super Bowl appearance. But unfortunately, the Lombardi Trophy eluded them as the Colts beat the Bears in Super Bowl 41. The next 2 seasons were really solid by Urlacher, but the Bears in general regressed after the high of 2006, and he ended up missing almost the entirety of the 2009 season due to a bad wrist injury that required surgery. But after that season, Urlacher turned back the clock to his prime, making back-to-back Pro Bowls in 2010 and 2011, and helped the Bears have a bit of a revival, helping them make the NFC Championship in 2010 before losing to the Green Bay Packers. 2012 ended up being Urlacher's last season in the NFL, as he retired after an illustrious 13-year career with the Bears. He was selected to the NFL Hall of Fame on his first year of eligibility in 2018. Overall for his career, Urlacher played for 13 seasons, all 13 of them with Chicago, appearing in 182 games, starting in 180 of them, recording 1,361 total tackles, 1,046 solos, 138 tackles for loss, 41.5 sacks, 11 forced fumbles, 16 fumble recoveries, 22 interceptions, 90 passes deflected, and 4 defensive touchdowns. He was also named to 8 Pro Bowls, 4 first-team All-Pros, 1 second-team All-Pro, 1 Defensive Player of the Year, and a Defensive Rookie of the Year award as well. For his career, I'm going to put Urlacher into the A tier, as he is one of the best linebackers of his generation, and is a franchise legend for the Bears, helping to build up one of the best defenses of the 2000s. This was a really hard player to grade, as you can make an argument for Urlacher being in M tier, but there are 2 things that caused me personally to put him into A tier, which I do put in Hall of Famers and franchise legends. That is that you can make the argument that Urlacher is not even the best linebacker in his team's history, through no fault of his own, as the Bears have both Dick Butkus and Mike Singletary to call their own. And he wasn't the number 1 linebacker in his era either, as Ray Lewis has a stranglehold on that title. Either way, Urlacher is a Hall of Famer and was an absolute home run of a pick for the Bears. It was an absolute pain in the butt to play against though as a Packers fan, but I have to respect the talent that is Brian Urlacher. With the 10th pick of the 2000 NFL Draft, the Baltimore Ravens select Travis Taylor, wide receiver, Florida. Looking for an immediate boost for their wide receiver group for a team trying to break through to that next level of actually competing for the playoffs, the Ravens selected the talented wide receiver out of Florida, Travis Taylor. Expected to make an immediate impact on the Ravens' offense, Taylor was actually a bit of a disappointment, as he had 28 receptions for 276 yards and 2 touchdowns during his rookie season. But he did help the Ravens win the Super Bowl that year. His best season with Baltimore came in 2002, where he had over 800 yards receiving and 6 touchdowns. But he wasn't able to build on that momentum and was released by the Ravens following a pretty bad 2004 season. He then signed a contract with the Minnesota Vikings, where he stayed with for the 2005 and 2006 season. After the 2006 season, he spent 2007 bouncing around with multiple teams, including the Raiders, Rams, Panthers, and Lions. He was released following the 2009 season and never played another snap in the NFL. Overall, Taylor played 8 years, 5 with the Ravens, 2 with the Vikings, 1 with a combination of the Raiders, Rams, Panthers, and Lions, appearing in 101 games, starting in 90 of them, having 312 receptions on 612 targets, 4,017 receiving yards, 22 receiving touchdowns, and a yard per reception of 12.9. And for his career, I'm putting Taylor into the D tier, as his career in general was pretty disappointing compared to where he was drafted. He was a solid starting option early on in his career and helped the Ravens win a Super Bowl, but the back half of his career just did not go his way, as he bounced around between 6 teams in his last 3 seasons. Not the worst pick in the world, but the Ravens could have done a lot better on this one. With the 11th pick of the 2000 NFL Draft, the New York Giants select Ron Dayne, running back, Wisconsin. Looking to add a bit more power in the running game to complement the electric Tiki Barber, the Giants selected one of the greatest college football players of all time in the Wisconsin running back, Ron Dayne. Coming off an illustrious college career that included being a 3-time All-American, winning several awards including the Doak Walker, Jim Brown, Chick Haley, Walter Camp, Maxwell, and winning the Heisman Trophy in 1999. The NCAA's all-time leading rusher at the time of leaving college had a disappointing career. Most of that had to do where he was drafted in the Giants, as they already had a lead back in Tiki Barber, and the fact that Rondé would eventually have complications with his head coach Jim Fassel, who tried to get Dane to change from the bruising back that he was, and instead lose weight and be more elusive. He missed the 2003 season due to injury and wasn't re-signed by the Giants following the 2004 season. Dane then spent the 2005 season with the Denver Broncos before spending his last 2 seasons with the Houston Texans. Funnily enough, his best season came in his last one, where he had 773 rushing yards and 6 rushing touchdowns. Overall for his career, Dane played in 7 seasons, 4 with the Giants, 1 with the Broncos, and 2 with the Texans, appearing in 96 games, starting in 28 of them, having 983 rushing attempts, 3,722 rushing yards, 28 touchdowns, and a yard per attempt at 3.8. For his career, I'm putting Dane into the D tier, as he was a very solid backup running back for the majority of his career, but never could get enough playing time with the Giants to establish himself as a solid starting back. It is a very disappointing career for the former Heisman Trophy winner, but I do think that getting drafted to the Giants, who already had a really dang good running back in Tiki Barber, was the worst case scenario for Dane. But he is still a college football legend, being inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame in 2013, and is one of the greatest college running backs of all time. The 12th pick of the 2000 NFL Draft, the New York Jets select Shaun Ellis, defensive end, Tennessee. The first of an insane 4 first-round picks for the New York Jets, this one being compensation for the Patriots stealing away Bill Belichick from them. New York looked to build up their defensive line by selecting Shaun Ellis out of Tennessee. Coming off a very solid college career that saw him become a national champion in 1998 with Tennessee, Ellis was a very solid defensive end for the Jets, having 2 double-digit sack seasons, one in 2003 where he had 12.5 sacks, and the other one in 2004 when he had 11 sacks, and also made the Pro Bowl in both of those seasons as well. He also helped revive the Jets with Rex Ryan in the late 2000s, with the team led by his defense making back-to-back AFC Championship games in 2009 and 2010. He then signed with the Patriots for the 2011 season, but was not re-signed for 2012 and retired shortly afterwards. Overall for his career, Ellis played in 12 seasons, 11 for the Jets and 1 with the Patriots, appearing in 184 games, starting in 166 of them, recording 588 total tackles, 411 solo, 83 tackles for loss, 73.5 sacks, 13 forced fumbles, 5 fumble recoveries, 18 pass deflections, 1 interception, and 1 defensive touchdown. He also made those 2 Pro Bowls in 2003 and 2004. And for his career, I'm going to put Ellis into the B tier, as he was a really solid defensive edge for the Jets for over a decade, and was a multiple-time Pro Bowler as well. A very solid pick by the Jets, as Ellis was an anchor for several great Jets defenses throughout the years, even though their next pick would have a much more productive NFL career. With the 13th pick of the 2000 NFL Draft, the New York Jets select Jonathan Abraham, defensive end, South Carolina. Doubling down on building their defensive line of the future, the Jets selected the athletic freak Jonathan Abraham out of South Carolina to pair with the previous selection, Shaun Ellis, and the Jets hit a massive home run on this one, as Abraham became one of the most dominant defensive ends of the 2000s. He first broke out in his sophomore season in 2001, where he was named to the Pro Bowl and a first-team All-Pro, following a 13-sack season where he also forced 6 fumbles, which led the league. He made 2 more Pro Bowls for the Jets in the next 4 seasons, coming in 2002 and 2004, before he was traded to the Atlanta Falcons during the 2006 draft in exchange for a first-round pick. After missing some time due to injury in 2006, Abraham picked back right where he left off with the Falcons, recording a career-high 16.5 sacks in 2008, though he didn't make the Pro Bowl that season at all. He was then named to the All-Pro team in 2010 following a 13-sack season. He was released from the Falcons following 2012 and signed with the Arizona Cardinals, where he would spend the last 2 seasons of his career. Unfortunately, a concussion suffered during the first game of 2014 ended up being a career ender for Abraham. Overall for his career, Jonathan appeared in 15 seasons, 6 for the Jets, 7 for the Falcons, and 2 for the Cardinals, appearing in 192 games, starting in 175 of them, recording 560 total tackles, 463 solo, 148 tackles for loss, 133.5 sacks, which is good for 13th all-time on the official sack list, but sacks weren't recorded before 1982, by the way. 47 forced fumbles, 6 fumble recoveries, 1 interception, 1 defensive touchdown, and 1 safety. He was also named to 5 Pro Bowl teams, was a 2-time first-team All-Pro, and was a second-team All-Pro member once. For his career, I'm putting Abraham into the A tier, as he is one of the best pass rushers of his generation, and should be getting strong consideration for the NFL Hall of Fame. I mean, he is top 15 in career sacks for crying out loud. The only 2 guys ahead of him who aren't in the Hall of Fame are Terrell Suggs and Jared Allen, 2 guys who will be in the Hall of Fame soon. But still, it was a really impressive career for Abraham, one of the best to ever do it. With the 14th pick of the 2000 NFL Draft, the Green Bay Packers select Bubba Franks, tight end, Miami, Florida. Looking to add another weapon to the offense to help the gunslinging Brett Favre reach another Super Bowl, the Packers decided to give him a safety blanket in the All-American tight end out of Miami, Bubba Franks. Franks got off to a really good start to his career, as after a slow rookie season where he only caught 1 touchdown, Franks would make 3 straight Pro Bowls from 2001 to 2003, being one of the best red zone targets in the NFL, having a 9-touchdown season in 2001 and 2 7-touchdown seasons in both 2002 and 2004. But 2005 started a downward trend for his career, as with so many other Packers that season just suffered devastating injuries, and he was never the same. He stayed with the Packers for both 2006 and 2007, the latter of which was cut short due to more injuries, and spent the 2008 season with the Jets, where he also suffered from injuries that limited his playing time and ultimately ended his career. Overall for his career, Franks played for 9 seasons, 8 with the Packers and 1 with the Jets, appearing in 122 games, starting in 98 of them, recording 262 receptions on 405 targets for 2,347 receiving yards, 32 touchdowns, and a yard per reception of 9.0. He was also named to 3 Pro Bowls as well. For his career, I'm putting Franks into the B tier, but definitely on the low end of the B tier according to my grading system. The 3 Pro Bowls that he got early on in his career was the difference between him being in the C tier and the B tier. But early on, he was a very good tight end for the Packers and a really good red zone target due to his big size. But injuries derailed his career and prevented him from reaching more counting stats for a tight end, but still was a very good and solid tight end. With the 15th pick of the 2000 NFL Draft, the Denver Broncos select Deltha O'Neal, defensive back, California. Looking to beef up their secondary as they were still trying to compete now that they were out of the John Elway era, the Broncos selected a speedy All-American corner Deltha O'Neal out of California. Coming off of a senior season where he set the NCAA record with 4 interceptions returned for touchdowns, O'Neal spent most of his rookie season as the Broncos return specialist, where he actually had some good success having a kick return touchdown. He then became one of the team's starting corners and was a really darn good one, as in his first season as a starter, he made the Pro Bowl with an insanely high 9 interceptions. He spent the next 2 seasons with the Broncos until the 2004 draft, where he, with a first and 4th round pick, were traded to the Bengals in exchange for their 17th overall pick that year. And O'Neal had a very successful tenure with the Bengals, with the 2005 season being especially memorable for him, as he was named to a 2nd career Pro Bowl and was a 2nd team All-Pro with a 10 interception season. But that would be the peak of his career, as during the 2006 season, he would miss several games due to injuries. O'Neal would then sign with the Patriots for the 2008 season, which would end up being the last of his career. Overall for his career, O'Neal will play for 9 seasons, 4 with the Broncos, 4 with the Bengals, and 1 with the Patriots, appearing in 132 games, starting in 85 of them, recording 403 total tackles, 351 solo, 6 tackles for loss, 1 sack, 3 forced fumbles, 34 interceptions, 101 pass deflections, and 3 defensive touchdowns. He also contributed 3 return touchdowns as well as in his career, while also making 2 Pro Bowls and was a 2nd team All-Pro in 2005. For his career, I'm going to put O'Neal into the B tier, as he was a multiple-time Pro Bowler and was a ball hawk as well throughout his career. But injuries and a bit of a decline late in his career cut it short, as 9 seasons is a bit low to be put into B tier, but his peak was really, really good and was a good, solid starting corner for almost a decade in the NFL. With the 16th pick of the 2000 NFL Draft, the San Francisco 49ers select Julian Peterson, linebacker, Michigan State. Trying to extend their impressively long competitive window into the Jeff Garcia era, the 49ers went to beef up their defense with the All-American linebacker Julian Peterson out of Michigan State. Coming off a really impressive senior season with the Spartans, where he had a 15-sack season, Peterson quickly developed into one of the best young linebackers in the league, making his first Pro Bowl in 2002 and being named a first-team All-Pro in 2003 in a season where he had 7 sacks, 2 interceptions, and 2 fumble recoveries. He then signed with the Seattle Seahawks prior to the 2006 season and began the best run of his career as he made 3 straight Pro Bowls from 2006 to 2008. Then before the 2009 season, Peterson was traded to the Detroit Lions prior to the draft in exchange for defensive tackle Corey Redding and a first-round pick. He would last 2 more seasons with the Lions and was released after the 2010 season. Overall for his career, Peterson played in 11 NFL seasons, 6 with the 49ers, 3 with the Seahawks, and 2 with the Lions, appearing in 156 games, starting at 147 of them, recording 809 total tackles, 602 solo, 75 tackles for loss, 51.5 sacks, 21 forced fumbles, 11 fumble recoveries, 8 interceptions, and 64 pass deflections. He was also named to 5 Pro Bowl teams, 1 first-team All-Pro team, and 1 second-team All-Pro team. For his career, I'm going to put Peterson into the B tier, as he was one of the best linebackers in the league for almost a full decade, making 5 Pro Bowls in an 8-year span. He didn't have the most graceful end to a career, being unceremoniously cut after 2 seasons in Detroit, but still had a very successful NFL career. With the 17th pick of the 2000 NFL Draft, the Oakland Raiders select Sebastian Janikowski, kicker, Florida State. The Raiders are not a normal team when it comes to drafting players, like at all in the early to mid-2000s. Al Davis took the players that he liked no matter what, even though no one else would think it was a good idea. But their absolute most crazy draft pick is when they selected a damn kicker in the first round. And the crazy thing is that you can make an argument that Janikowski has been the most successful first-round pick that the Raiders have made in the 21st century, with the other candidates being Khalil Mack, Amari Cooper, and Josh Jacobs, but they didn't stay very long with the team. Coming off back-to-back Lou Groza awards in college, the Polish-born Janikowski got off to a very rough start in his first season in the NFL, only making 68.8% of his field goals. But he quickly righted the ship, as a man known as Seabass became one of the most consistent kickers in the league and a staple of the NFL for almost 2 whole decades. Janikowski was most known for his massive leg, as he routinely was making 50-plus yard field goals, including tying the then NFL record of 63 yards in 2011. The best story of his leg was when the Raiders trotted him out for a potential 76-yard attempt that he missed. Just insane that they would let him try out for that. He made the Pro Bowl in 2011 and continued being the Raiders kicker until 2016. He ended up missing the entire 2017 season due to back issues and had finished career in 2018 with the Seattle Seahawks. Overall for his career, Janikowski played for 18 seasons, 17 with the Raiders and 1 with the Seahawks, making 436 field goals on 542 attempts for a percentage of 80.4%. He also made 605 out of his 613 extra point attempts, 98.5%, giving him a total career points of 1,913, and led the league in made field goals once and the longest field goal 3 times, including a then NFL record 63 yards, which has since been broken by Matt Prater and Justin Tucker. He retired as the all-time leading scorer in Raiders history and made 1 Pro Bowl and 1 first-team All-Pro. For his career, I'm going to put Janikowski into the B tier, as he was the most iconic kicker of the 21st century and a franchise legend for the Raiders. It's honestly amazing that picking a kicker in the first round actually worked that well for a team with an historically bad drafting record that the Raiders have. The mighty leg of Seabass is going to be remembered for a very long time in Raider Nation. With the 18th pick of the 2000 NFL Draft, the New York Jets select Chad Pennington, quarterback, Marshall. Coming off a very successful career at Marshall, where he led the program back to rejoin Division I and 3 straight MAC championships with Randy Moss, the Jets made Pennington the first quarterback taken in what was thought to be a pretty weak quarterback class, though a certain devil taken in the 6th round made any QB picked in this draft foolish. It took a bit of time for Pennington to crack the starting lineup, only making 3 appearances in his first 2 seasons as a backup to Vinny Testaverde. But 2002 was Pennington's breakout season as he stepped in due to an injury to Vinny and helped guide the Jets to an AFC East title with very efficient quarterback play as he led the league in completion percentage and passer rating. 2003 was a disappointing year as Chad threw nearly as many interceptions as he did touchdowns and started the year with a massive injury to his hand that affected him all year long, and the Jets ended up missing the playoffs. The next season went better for both Chad and the Jets as Pennington bounced back with another efficient season and the Jets made the playoffs again as a wildcard team. 2005 was not good for him as he ended up only playing in 3 games the whole season as he suffered a major rotator cuff injury that ended his campaign. The next season was a return for form for Chad and the Jets as he made all 16 starts for a Jets team that made a wildcard spot, and he was named NFL Comeback Player of the Year. But the wheels fell off for Pennington and the Jets in 2007 as injuries and bad play saw Chad only play in 8 games the whole year. With the acquisition of Brett Favre in 2008, the Jets decided to release Pennington. He was then picked up by the Miami Dolphins, and 2008 turned into the best season of his career, as he led the Wildcat Miami Dolphins to an 11-5 record and a division title. He also won his second Comeback Player of the Year award, and finished second in MVP voting as well behind Peyton Manning. But sadly, that would be his last good season in the NFL, as both the 2009 and 2010 seasons ended with shoulder injuries, and a comeback attempt in 2011 ended him suffering an ACL tear in the offseason. Overall, for his career, Pennington played for 11 seasons, 8 with the Jets and 3 for the Dolphins, appearing in 89 games, starting in 81 of them, a record of 44-37 as a starter, having 1,632 completions on 2,471 attempts, a completion percentage of 66%, 17,823 passing yards, 102 touchdowns, 64 interceptions, and a passer rating of 90.1. For his career, I'm going to put Pennington into the C tier, as he was a very serviceable quarterback when he was healthy, helping to lead 2 different teams to the playoffs in the AFC East during the prime of Tom Brady. But the big thing with Chad is that he never could be healthy for 2 seasons in a row. He had several seasons end early with shoulder injuries and couldn't stay healthy in the long term. He unfortunately is always going to be overshadowed by another quarterback that was taken by a division rival, but he has been the best quarterback that the Jets have had this century. With the 19th pick of the 2000 NFL Draft, the Seattle Seahawks select Shaun Alexander, running back, Alabama. Looking to add more of a punch to their offense, the Seahawks decided to use their pick acquired from the Dallas Cowboys in exchange for wide receiver Jolie Galloway on All-American running back Shaun Alexander out of Alabama. Coming off a 19-touchdown season in his final year of college, Alexander was mostly a backup to incumbent starter Ricky Watters, only having 300 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns his rookie season. But as soon as he became a full-time starter in 2001 following an injury to Watters, Alexander began one of the most dominant stretches a running back has ever had in NFL history. In just 12 games starting in 2001, Alexander had over 13 yards rushing and 14 rushing touchdowns, running behind one of the most dominant offensive lines with Hall of Famers Walter Jones and Steve Hutchinson blocking his way. He didn't have less than 1,000 yards and 14 touchdowns for the next 4 seasons, making 2 Pro Bowls in 2003 and 2004. But none of these seasons even compared to what was to come in 2005, where Alexander had one of the best seasons in NFL history. He led the league in attempts, yards, rushing touchdowns, yards per game, and set a then NFL record by having a total of 28 touchdowns on the season. He finished as a Pro Bowler, a first-team All-Pro, won Offensive Player of the Year, and won the NFL MVP award for the incredible season he had. Following this campaign, Alexander was selected to be on the cover of Madden NFL 07. But that was the peak of his career, as the amount of carries that he had so far in his career and a bit of the Madden curse started to break down his body. He ended up missing 6 games in the following season after he signed a massive 8-year, $62 million contract in the offseason with a broken foot that he even played through at times. 2007 was more of the same as injuries continued to pile for Alexander, with him playing through various wrist, knee, and ankle injuries. He was then cut by the Seahawks following the offseason to get out of that massive contract. He spent 4 games with the Redskins in 2008 before retiring for the NFL. Overall for his career, Alexander played for 9 seasons, 8 with the Seahawks and 1 with the Redskins, appearing in 123 games, starting in 96 of them, having 9,453 rushing yards on 2,187 attempts, a yard per attempt of 4.3, 100 career rushing touchdowns, 215 receptions, 1,520 receiving yards, and 12 receiving touchdowns. He was named to 3 Pro Bowls, 1 first-team All-Pro, 1 second-team All-Pro, 1 Offensive Player of the Year award, 2005 NFL MVP, and was a member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame All-Decade Team of the 2000s. For his career, I'm putting Alexander into the A tier, as he was truly one of the most dominant backs of the 21st century. His streak of 5 straight years over 1,000 rushing yards and 14 or more rushing touchdowns is a level of dominance not normally seen, as his 100 career rushing touchdowns is good for 9th all-time. But the reason why he isn't in the NFL Hall of Fame is the same reason why he isn't in the M tier for me either, and that is because of the injuries that derailed the end of his career. By the time he was in Washington, the beating that his body has been taking since college just couldn't keep up anymore, and he was a shell of his former self. But still, he struck fear in the hearts of his opponents and was a key part of the NFL story of the early and mid-2000s. With the 20th pick of the 2000 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions select Stoker McDougal, tackle, Oklahoma. Looking to add some help on their offensive line, the Lions selected a massive tackle out of Oklahoma, Stoker McDougal. Standing at 6'6" and weighing over 335 pounds, the hulking McDougal ended up being a really solid starting tackle for Detroit, being a spot starter for the first couple of seasons before becoming a full-time starter in his 3rd season. He played all 16 games at right tackle in both 2003 and 2004 with Detroit, but that would be the peak of his career, as after the 2004 season, he signed with the Dolphins, but only started in 2 games for them. He spent the 2006 season with the Jaguars, but only played 11 games without making a single start. Overall for his career, McDougal played for 7 seasons, 5 of them for the Lions, 1 with the Dolphins, and 1 with the Jaguars, playing in 81 games, starting in 56 of them. For his career, I'm going to put McDougal into the C tier, as he had a pretty solid season as a tackle. Nothing too impressive, but a solid starter for the Lions for 4 seasons. His career was short compared to most first-round tackles, but not a pick that the Lions particularly regret too much. With the 21st pick of the 2000 NFL Draft, the Kansas City Chiefs select Sylvester Morris, wide receiver, Jackson State. Adding to their offensive attack, the Chiefs selected Sylvester Morris out of the HBCU Jackson State to add to their receiving corps. Morris had a really solid rookie season where he had over 500 receiving yards and 4 touchdowns. But that would be the only season that Morris would end up playing in his entire career. As for the next 3 seasons, knee injuries would prevent him from seeing the field at all. He tried to make a comeback with the Buccaneers in 2004, but suffered yet another season-ending knee injury that finally ended his playing career. Overall for his career, Morris played for 1 season with the Chiefs, appearing in 15 games, starting in 14 of them, having 48 receptions on 105 targets, 678 receiving yards, 4 touchdowns, and a yard per catch of 14.1 yards. And for his career, I'm going to have to put Morris into the F tier, as injuries completely derailed what could have been a very promising career. He had a really solid rookie year, and he could have been a good receiver for a good while in the NFL if injuries did not ruin his chances. With the 22nd pick of the 2000 NFL Draft, the Seattle Seahawks select Chris McIntosh, tackle, Wisconsin. Looking to beef up their offensive line that already had future Hall of Famers Walter Jones and Steve Hutchinson on it, the Seahawks selected the unanimous All-American Chris McIntosh out of Wisconsin. The idea was that between Jones and McIntosh, the Seahawks will have their tackle duo for the next decade, protecting young Matt Hasselbeck and paving the way in the run game for the other first-round draft pick in Shaun Alexander. and it started out well with McIntosh starting in 10 games of his rookie season. But troubles came about during training camp next season, as a neck injury that he sustained during that limited him to only starting in 3 games. That neck injury prevented him from ever playing football again, and he retired following the 2002 season. Overall for his career, McIntosh played for 2 seasons, both with Seattle, appearing in 24 games and starting in 13 of them. For his career, I'm going to put McIntosh into the F tier for the same reason that a lot of players find themselves in this tier. Injuries that just completely wrecked any chances their careers had. He had the potential to be a good starting tackle in the league, but his neck just couldn't hold up. But he has had a very successful post-NFL career, as he is the current athletic director of his alma mater, the University of Wisconsin. With the 23rd pick of the 2000 NFL Draft, the Carolina Panthers select Rashard Anderson, defensive back, Jackson State. The second pick out of the very successful HBCU Jackson State in this first round. The first time that has happened since 1975, when it was future Hall of Famers Walter Payton and Robert Brazile. Anderson, unfortunately, was like his fellow first-rounder in Sylvester Morris, as he had a promising start to his career that was derailed after a few seasons due, in this case, off-the-field issues. Anderson didn't start until his second season for Carolina, and in his second season, he actually put together a promising year, having an interception and 5 pass deflections. However, his career came to a swift end as he was suspended for the 2002 season for violating the league's substance abuse policy, and that suspension was extended to include the 2003 season. Anderson was reinstated following 2003, but was released by the Panthers after that. Overall for his career, Anderson played for 2 seasons, both with the Panthers, appearing in 27 games, starting in 9 of them, recording 75 total tackles, 69 solo, 1 tackles for loss, 1 interception, 6 passes deflected, 1 forced fumble, 3 fumble recoveries, and 1 defensive touchdown. For his career, I'm going to have to put Anderson into the F tier, as his career was cut short after 2 promising seasons due to off-the-field issues, and he never played in the NFL again. Anderson sadly passed away at the age of 45 due to pancreatic cancer. With the 24th pick of the 2000 NFL Draft, the San Francisco 49ers select Ahmed Plummer, defensive back, Ohio State. Looking to add to their secondary, the 49ers selected a versatile corner out of Ohio State, Ahmed Plummer. And initially, it was a very solid season, as Plummer became a starter in his rookie year and continued to be a starter for the next 4 seasons for the 49ers. He even had a Pro Bowl caliber season in 2001, where he had 7 interceptions while somehow not making the Pro Bowl. But his career started to go downhill during the 2004 season, as he only played in 6 games due to injury, and his 2005 season was cut short to only 3 games due to yet another injury. He retired following the 2005 season due to all the injuries piling up on his body. Overall for his career, Plummer played in 6 seasons, all with the 49ers, appearing in 17 games, starting in 68 of them, recording 317 total tackles, 269 of them solo, 3 tackles for loss, 12 interceptions, 71 pass deflections, 1 fumble recovery, and 1 defensive touchdown. For his career, I'm going to put Plummer into the C tier, as he was a really solid starting corner for his career. It's just that injuries prevented him from having a long, solid career that he deserved to have based on his early production. With the 25th pick of the 2000 NFL Draft, the Minnesota Vikings select Chris Hovan, defensive tackle, Boston College. Looking to get their heir apparent to the amazing but aging John Randall, the Vikings decided to select defensive tackle Chris Hovan out of Boston College. While nowhere near the level that Hall of Famer John Randall was at for Minnesota, Hovan was a pretty solid starter for the Vikings for 5 seasons, peaking in 2002 where he was named as a second-team All-Pro following a 5.5 sack, 11 tackle for loss season. Following the 2004 season, he signed with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, where he would spend the next 5 years as a solid run-stopping defensive tackle, which was a departure from his role with the Vikings, where he was more of a pass rusher. Following his time with Tampa Bay, he signed with the Rams for the 2010 season, but a back injury during the offseason caused him to miss the entire campaign, and he retired following 2010. Overall for his career, Hovan played for 10 seasons, 5 with the Vikings and 5 with the Buccaneers, appearing in 156 games, starting 149 of them, recording 412 total tackles, 309 solo, 58 tackles for loss, 22 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, 8 fumble recoveries, and 15 pass deflections. He was also named to one second-team All-Pro in 2002. For his career, I'm going to put Hoven into the C tier, as he was one of those players that was a really solid starter in the league for a long time, never really standing out too much, but providing solid starts and stats in the league for over a decade. Bills select Eric Flowers, defensive end, Arizona State. Another team similar to the Vikings to pick before, the Bills were looking to replace a legendary defensive lineman Bruce Smith, who went to join the Washington Redskins in free agency by selecting defensive end Eric Flowers out of Arizona State. But his pick did not work out at all, as Flowers only played for 2 seasons for the Bills and recording only 4 sacks total with the team. In case you are wondering, Smith only had 1 season in his career of less than 4 sacks, and that is a year where he only played 5 games due to injury back in 1991. After being released by the Bills following the 2001 season, he joined the Texans for their inaugural year in 2002 and finished his career by playing 2 seasons with the Rams as a rotational depth player. Overall for his career, Flowers played for 5 seasons, 2 with the Bills, 1 with the Texans, and 2 with the Rams, appearing in 58 career games, starting in only 6 of them, recording 60 total tackles, 40 of them solo, 7 tackles for loss, 5 sacks, 1 forced fumble, 1 fumble recovery, and 4 pass deflections. For his career, I'm putting Flowers into the F tier, as he was just a classic NFL draft bust, as he just couldn't put it all together on the field for either of the 3 teams that gave him a shot. With the 27th pick of the 2000 NFL Draft, the New York Jets select Anthony Becht, tight end, West Virginia. Looking to add a safety blanket for newly drafted quarterback Chad Pennington, the Jets decided to use their 4th first-round pick of the night on the tight end out of West Virginia, Anthony Becht. Now, for some of your younger viewers, tight ends weren't always like the Travis Kelce's and George Kittles of today. They were mainly used for blocking in the run game and catching short passes to help move the chains, and guys like Tony Gonzalez were the exception to that rule, and not the rule themselves like they are today. And for his era, Becht did a very solid job of being a good starting tight end for the Jets for the first 4 seasons of his career, starting in almost every game and catching 16 touchdowns in those 4 seasons. But 2004 marked a downturn in Becht's career, as he only had 13 receptions for 100 yards, down from 40 receptions and 356 yards in 2003. He then signed with the Buccaneers following the 2004 season, where he would spend 3 years with them as a backup, before spending time with the Rams, Cardinals, and Chiefs as more of a run-blocking specialist. Overall in his career, Becht played for 11 seasons, 5 with the Jets, 3 with the Buccaneers, 1 with the Rams, 1 with the Cardinals, and 1 with the Chiefs, appearing in 167 games, starting in 132 of them, recording 188 receptions on 298 receptions for 1,537 yards, 21 touchdowns, and a yard per reception of 8.7. For his career, I'm going to put Becht into the C tier, as he carved out a really solid career, starting off as a good receiving tight end for Chad Pennington and the Jets, before evolving in the later half of his career as a blocking specialist. Having a decade-plus career in the NFL is no easy feat, and so this is a good landing spot for Becht. With the 28th pick of the 2000 NFL Draft, the Indianapolis Colts select Rob Morris, linebacker, BYU. Now having one of the best offensive trios in NFL history with Peyton Manning, Edgerrin James, and Marvin Harrison, the Colts decided to add to their defense to build a complete roster to compete for a championship. They started out by selecting Rob Morris, the linebacker out of BYU, and while he did help the team win the Super Bowl in 2006, it wasn't in the way that they expected. He mainly appeared as a special teamer in his rookie season and eventually turned into a full-time starter by his second season. Morris would remain a starter for the next 4 seasons before becoming a special teamer again for the 2005 and 2006 season, helping the Colts win Super Bowl 41. He only played in 4 games in 2007 before he suffered what would become a career-ending injury. Overall for his career, Morris played for 8 seasons, all 8 of them with Indianapolis, appearing in 99 career games, starting in 67 of them, recording 489 total tackles, 361 of them solo, 35 tackles for loss, 7 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 2 fumble recoveries, 1 interception, and 7 passes defended. Overall for his career, I'm putting Morris into the C tier, as he was a solid starter for the Colts for 4 years and was a key backup and special teamer during the team's Super Bowl I in 2006. He wasn't the flashiest player, but had a solid 8-year career before a knee injury prevented him from playing even longer. With the 29th pick of the 2000 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select R.J. Soward, wide receiver, USC. Looking to head into the 21st century, continuing their surprising success as one of the NFL's most successful franchises given how young they were, the Jaguars decided to give Pro Bowl quarterback Mark Brunell another weapon in USC's R.J. Soward. But unfortunately that didn't work out, as a terrible rookie year and a multiple of suspensions led his career to only be during his one rookie season. After a very unproductive year where he had less than 200 yards and only one touchdown, Soward would end up being suspended for both the 2001 and 2002 seasons for violating the league's substance abuse policy, which would later be revealed to be due to an alcohol addiction. He never played another snap in the NFL following the suspensions, and ended up playing with the Toronto Argonauts of the CFL for 3 seasons, helping that team win the Grey Cup in 2004. Overall for his career, Soward only played in 1 season in the league with the Jaguars, appearing in 13 games, starting in 2 of them, recording 14 receptions for 154 yards, 1 touchdown, and a yard per reception of 11. For his career, I'm going to put Soward into the L tier, as compared to the other player whose career was cut short due to suspensions, Rashard Anderson of the Panthers. There is no semblance of potential to produce at the NFL level. This is just another case, sadly, of where an addiction took over this young man's life and prevented him from having a semblance of a career in the NFL. At least he had some success up in Canada, but his NFL career was a bust. With the 30th pick of the 2000 NFL Draft, the Tennessee Titans select Keith Bulluck, linebacker, Syracuse. Looking to add more talent to a team that just reached the Super Bowl but ultimately fell 1 yard short, the Titans decided to draft the uber-athletic linebacker out of Syracuse, Keith Bulluck. And after spending the first 2 seasons of his career as a backup special teamer, Bulluck got his first chance to start in 2002. And with that opportunity, he had an excellent season, being named a second-team All-Pro in his first year of starting and having an amazing season in the next year while being named to his first career Pro Bowl and was named a first-team All-Pro for 2003. He then led the league in tackles in 2004 and continued to be a solid starter for the Titans for the next 6 seasons. After his contract ended with the Titans in 2009, he signed a 1-year deal for the Giants for 2010, and after not being signed anywhere for 2011, Bulluck retired after signing a 1-day contract with the Titans. Overall for his career, Bulluck played in 11 seasons, 10 with the Titans, and 1 with the Giants, appearing in 170 games, starting in 138 of them, recording 1,109 total tackles, 811 of them solo, 61 tackles for loss, 18 sacks, 15 forced fumbles, 13 fumble recoveries, 21 interceptions, 72 pass deflections, and 5 total defensive touchdowns. He was also named to 1 Pro Bowl, 1 first-team All-Pro, and 1 second-team All-Pro. For his career, I'm going to put Bulluck into the B tier, as he was a very productive linebacker, and at times there was an argument that he was a top 3 linebacker in the league at his peak. But while that insane peak wasn't that long-lived, he still gave Titans some really productive seasons and was a great selection for this team. With the 31st pick of the 2000 NFL Draft, the St. Louis Rams select Trung Candidate, running back, Arizona. A bit of a shocker at the end of the first round of the draft, the defending Super Bowl champion St. Louis Rams decided to draft Arizona running back Trung Candidate. This was a very disappointing result to a lot of Rams fans, as they already had reigning Offensive Player of the Year Marshall Faulk entrenched as their starter, and that they wasted their pick by not adding at other positions, as they would be proven right, as not only did Faulk not skip a beat at all, continuing his dominance to include a 2000 NFL MVP and winning his 3rd straight Offensive Player of the Year award in 2001, but when Candidate did get on the field, he was a major disappointment. He only started in 3 games in his 3 seasons with the Rams and ended up fumbling 4 times during those 3 seasons. He did show some flashes in 2001 averaging 5.7 yards per attempt on the ground while spelling out Marshall Faulk. But the fumbles, as well as Marshall Faulk being Marshall Faulk, stunted any development he had in St. Louis. After the 2002 season, the Rams traded him to the Washington Redskins in exchange for David Laverne and a 4th-round pick. Trung eventually won the starting job for Washington, starting in 10 games before the team traded for Clinton Portis prior to the 2004 season, and Candidate was released prior to training camp. Overall for his career, Candidate played for 4 seasons, 3 with the Rams and 1 with the Redskins, appearing in 46 games, starting in 13 of them, recording 1,095 rushing yards, 7 rushing touchdowns, a yard per attempt of 4.6, 32 receptions, 260 receiving yards, and 1 receiving touchdown. For his career, I'm going to put Candidate into the F tier, as he didn't really pan out in the NFL, even though he did show some flashes of his potential. The main reason why his career didn't work out, I believe, is the team who drafted him. The Rams had no reason to take a running back, and with the lack of playing time, there was a lack of development out of the young back. I do wonder how his career would have turned out if he wasn't drafted to St. Louis. Now, just like my retrospectives on the 1998 and 1999 NFL drafts, we're going to have to grade these players to see how good of an overall class this first round was. To do that, we will be using the standard letter grading system we have in the United States, where an A is worth 4, a B is worth 3, C is worth 2, D is worth 1, and F is 0. For the 2 special tiers, the M tier is worth 5 points, and the L tier is worth -1 points. Then we just average all the points up and see where it stands. And so for this draft, for the total amount of M tier players, there were none, so they have 0 points there. Total amount of A tier players, there were 4 of them, so they get 16 points. Total B tier, there were 9 of them, so 27 points. Total C tier was 8, so there's 16 points. Total D tier was 2, so there will be 2 points there. Total F tier is 7, so 0 points. And total L tier is 1, so -1 points added on to that. The total amount of points this draft gets is 60 for a 1.93 average, which rounds up to a C. If we compare this to 1998, which got a 2.03 or a C, or the 1999 draft class, we got a 1.76 or C-. You see that this class is smack dab in the middle of these two. While not having the insanely high talent level of the 3 M-tier players of 1998, 2000 also didn't have the high amount of L-tier players compared to 1999. This draft, while lacking the generational top-tier talent that other drafts may have, has a lot more talent in the middle, shown by the 9 B-tier players in this class. And the A-tier players were really good as well, with one of them already being in the Hall of Fame in Brian Urlacher, one that could be in the Hall of Fame here soon in Jonathan Abraham, and 2 who would be in the Hall of Fame if injuries didn't end their careers in Chris Samuels and Sean Alexander. So out of the 3 first rounds I've reviewed so far, this one goes squarely in the number 2 spot, with the 1998 draft still holding to number 1, and the 1999 draft currently in last. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I know this was a long one, but we got to the end of it together. Let me know if you guys have any comments down below what you think of these players, or if you just heard of players for the first time you didn't know even existed. Next up for this channel, I will be doing my final Green Bay Packers review for 2024, and then I'll be starting on the hidden gems of the 2000 NFL Draft, where I go through the remaining of the draft and undrafted free agents and point out players that had really good careers out of it. So if you want to see more of that, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you all so much for the support, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.